This week on You Should Be Watching, we talk about how most movie theaters could open by mid-July, according to One Hollywood Group. Then we list the most rewatchable MCU movies. And then, of course, the least rewatchable ones. That's all this week on You Should Be Watching. Hey guys, and welcome to another episode of You Should Be Watching. And just like last week, we are currently in the middle of GameSpot's Play for All event, which is going on through mid-July. And what we're doing right now is we're raising money for both Black Lives Matter and for COVID-19 relief. So we have links in the description below to donate to those two causes if you would please help us out, or share the links if you can. So moving on, let's go on to this episode. We're talking about what's on your TV. So Greg, what are you watching right now?
Well, I just finished up Upload, so I just want to let everyone know. Yep.
Did you like it?
It was great. Yes, I see the hype behind it. It's very cute, and I was upset at the ending just because I wanted to keep going. I had no idea that was the final episode. I just ran through the last 4 episodes in one day. Had no clue.
It's very bingeable.
Yep, very, and I had no idea that was the last episode, or the way it ends on that cliffhanger. I was a little pissed off, but I can't wait for the next season whenever that happens. That's all I'll say on that. I really enjoyed it. I know you guys already talked about it over and over again. We even have a video that says why you need to watch it. So I watched it, and it's great. So everyone out there, if you're listening right now, please go watch it if you haven't seen it yet.
Yeah, and it's a lot of fun. It's an enjoyable binge watch that just takes your mind off of things, and you just have a little bit of fun with sci-fi and humor. And there's like a cute little romance story in there as well.
It's like Greg Daniels, another version of The Good Place, I guess, but it's even I think it's better so far, but I don't know, we'll see what happens in the seasons down the line, but I really enjoyed it. And then from there I did a double feature night. Yes, I did. For our astronauts out there, we just launched a flight out, so I thought, you know what, let's watch Lucy in the Sky and Ad Astra as a double feature.
Which one did you like better?
Well, you know what's funny is Lucy in the Sky, I saw the reviews already. It was like, I don't pay too close attention to reviews when it's like 30% below. When it's a 30% below for Rotten Tomato, I immediately go, oh, there must be a specific scene which caused this to go down this way. And there sure was.
For which one?
For Lucy in the Sky.
Okay.
Lucy in the Sky has a below 30 Rotten Tomato score.
Wow.
So that stood out to me.
From fans?
Critically. No, this is critically. Yep. I think from fans it's even lower.
Oh my goodness.
Now, the reason, I can see why. I understand why. First of all, the plot and the scenes just jump from moment to moment to represent what was actually going on in the character's mind, Lucy at the time. It's based off of a real story, but it's very loosely based off of that real event, which you can look up. But with that said, it's gorgeous. It's very, I guess you can say, since it's Noah Hawley's first directorial debut, it's a little pretentious. They do the aspect ratio thing where they go wide to boxed over and over again. But obviously the conceit there was to use it as a way to show like the vastness of space for widescreen, and then going back to see how boxed it is for her and her mind, and how everything's starting to come together. And it's just juxtaposed over and over again between scene to scene, where you feel like you're watching like Twin Peaks Fire Walk with Me, the film. You're just watching the I think the extras where everything's just from scene to scene to scene, and that's it. And that's how the movie just goes, and the narrative just goes out the window, which is fine. I thought it was great. I see why everyone hated it. There's a scene in general where it's a sex scene that's cut together around a training accident, which probably caused a few critics to just get up and walk out.
Wow.
So I
That's
laughed.
a choice.
It's fine. It's obviously one of those movies you're going to hear about like 50 years from now, where everyone's saying, on second thought, it's a masterpiece.
So do you recommend it? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
Yeah, please watch.
I'm trying to figure out if you enjoyed this or not.
Yeah.
I'm trying to get before, because everyone's going to go, wait a minute, Greg, this movie, it got just destroyed by the critics, and here's why. I'm just giving that out there. But when it comes to like, if you're going to enjoy it, probably not. I really would recommend watching them together, honestly. Especially if you're a film student out there who wants to just see the difference between someone who's making their very first film and going from a very artsy background from what Noah Hawley has to switching gears straight up to Ad Astra, which is a James Gray film where it's just Brad Pitt on a Heart of Darkness, Apocalypse Now, emotional and psychological journey in space to go find his daddy from stopping him from committing genocidal space crimes. Completely different, but I enjoyed that one a lot more, obviously. That one sticks to the more of the narrative structure where very beginning, accident happens, we get our main character, you find out what that main character has to do. They give him the, here's your call out to the wild to go do what you got to do. He gets his plans and he has to go do them. And that's it. It's great.
So if you're looking for a newer space movie, go with Ad Astra.
Yes. Or since Father's Day is coming up, Dad Astra. It's fine.
Dad Astra.
I think this will be the last time I'm going to have movie night for a while, though, with my significant other. She was none too thrilled with both of these films, but I'm glad I did it. That's all I'll say.
Got it. Mike, have you seen either of those films?
No, actually. Weirdly.
Me neither, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Because
what have you been watching?
Like Ad Astra?
I feel like I would probably enjoy both of those to different degrees. I just never got around to seeing Ad Astra last year, but yeah, they're both on my list to catch up on. I gotta go backward for a second though and laugh a little bit about Upload, because I feel like I just come on this show to yuck your guys' yums and just like I think the last time I was on we talked about Moulin Rouge and how much I hate that movie.
Right, yeah.
And I just
and I loved it. I forgot to say that too. But actually, go watch Moulin Rouge, because I remember we had that convo. None of us actually said you should watch it. Yeah, it's on HBO Max. Go watch it. I know.
I said I liked it.
Yeah, counterpoint. Don't do that at all.
Don't listen to him.
Everybody, I'm coming out right now as having absolutely hated Upload.
Wow.
Everybody else on our entire team, including the two of you, Matt, Chris, and every other person who watched it, adores it. And I just couldn't. I watched 8 out of 10 episodes, and I'm having trouble mustering the will to finish it because I hated it so much.
Well,
I wanted to hate it. I wanted to hate it.
I don't think the last two are gonna win you over.
You wanted to hate it, Greg?
The first 8.
Oh, I wanted to hate it. There are moments where I'm like, okay, this is too corny, and then it comes back around, and I actually enjoyed it. I enjoyed the characters. Mostly the plot, more than anything. I think the love story's a little trite. I'm not gonna lie.
Sure.
It's just okay, whatever. A lot of times and also because of the story itself, you know what's gonna happen next a few points down the line, because they kind of hit you over the head a little too much with the, especially the without giving away spoilers. They straight up, a character says something to one character, and then 5 seconds later, that action is done. But it's.
Are you changing your own mind now, Greg? Are you convincing yourself
no.
that actually it was
No. Watch
I
Upload.
enjoyed it.
No.
Can we do a whole video? Can we do a whole video where I just break down every single thing that didn't make any sense in that show?
If you want.
Moving on.
Hey, I'll join you in that.
Moving on. Things that I'm actually watching and enjoying quite a bit.
Yeah.
Are Twin Peaks and Avatar: The Last Airbender. I'm sort of doing a joint.
I'm watching that now.
Both of which are shows that I have started in the past and never finished. So Twin Peaks, I watched season 1 and then dropped off during season 2 for obvious reasons, like a decade ago in college, and never revisited it since. And I recently finished season 2 finally. The journey was definitely worth it. I found season 2 really difficult to get through.
But it's good context, so now you can watch The Return, which is just so good.
Exactly. So I moved on to Fire Walk with Me over the weekend. Weird, hard to get through. Interesting, at least. I then rewatched What Did Jack Do? The David Lynch's Monkey thing on Netflix, the short film.
I still haven't seen that.
It's so good.
Still haven't seen that.
It's my favorite. Yeah,
it's amazing. Have you ever been a part of the communist move? It's so good.
Tutataban. It's so good.
I need to watch it.
And I'm excited to move on to season 3, to The Return. I haven't started it yet.
Sweet.
So good.
Yeah.
Once you go from go for it. Sorry.
No, it's just something about Twin Peaks right now, like this moment when we're all stuck inside and the world is burning and everything sucks. Something about like the magic of like northwestern fir trees and a good cup of coffee and a slice of cherry pie is like really just sitting with me in the exact right way right now. So
Very true.
I just found it really enjoyable.
So this was your first time finishing season 2. Did you feel it was a chore getting episode to episode
100%.
and you just like needed to power through to get to the end?
Absolutely. I was hooked.
Yeah.
For the second time in my life. I was hooked on season 1, and then as soon as they reveal the killer and the show just becomes this like,
You can see the producers running around. What do we do now?
yeah, it just becomes this cartoonish pastiche of itself, where like Nadine is in high school and doing gym cheerleading tryouts and like James is like getting grifted by some lady, and it just
The whole
like,
melodrama with
That
James.
was so weird.
Oh
Yeah,
man,
just
yeah,
like the soap
Days of Our
opera
Lives.
dramatics.
Yeah.
Dick, everything involving Dick Tremaine and like the homicidal kid who he like big brothers for a while, like all of it is just so stupid and so far away from what made the show good initially that it's no wonder it got canceled. Like none of that
Lynch
surprises
left
me.
for a moment. He left and then came back
know.
for the final few episodes.
What I want to ask you,
He's gone.
I have a like one or two things to say about Avatar, which is that it's extremely good and just like a wonderful palate cleanser, and I'm on season 3 and I love it. But I want to ask you guys about Twin Peaks. Like, when did you, how close to its original release did you guys watch it? And the follow up to that is, how the hell did you guys live with that cliffhanger for 25 years or however long?
I was too young to get into it when it was first released. I was only about 5 or 6,
Yeah,
so
same.
I didn't watch Twin Peaks until I think 2009 was when I watched it. So it was a while after. But it just seemed like something I was really into, and I gave it a shot, and I just like totally got hooked by it. And I just powered through all the way through the end of season 2 in one binge session over a course of like 2 or 3 weeks.
Exactly, yeah.
I think.
College. I had college and VHS tapes, and I had a friend when I used to work at Borders, the bookstore, R.I.P.
R.I.P.
Yeah, at the time. So, and I had a friend there who would not stop talking about Twin Peaks over and over again until I finally just decided to watch it. And then also I fell off from season 2 too. But they told me like straight up, like, "Hey, season 2
Go back,
sucks,
yeah.
but go back and make sure to watch that too." And then they told me the ending before I even watched Twin Peaks in its entirety. So I knew going into it how it was going to end. So my view of it was already skewed from there.
What was the feeling going into the return of like this crazy cliffhanger at the end of season 2 that had just been left hanging there for 2.5 decades?
Fire Walk with Me kind of gave us what David Lynch really wanted Twin Peaks to be. That's the moment, and when you watch now Twin Peaks Return, you go, "Oh, I get it. Okay,
For sure.
now I see what David Lynch was trying to do here with that
it's-
show and how it
It's
changed
the embodiment
so
of
much."
his vision.
My,
for sure.
It's just my
But
number one question going into the new show, without spoiling anything, is Cooper's situation going to be dealt with? Like, how can we jump 25 years into the future and possibly deal with the way that situation was left? I'm really curious, so I'm excited to start it.
Yeah. I'm excited for you to watch it.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I'm just floored by the fact that, Laura mentioned see you in 25 years and then they actually did it.
They pulled it off.
Which is insane,
excellent, yeah.
but it's so cool. It's so cool that it actually happened.
I feel like it's on
and-
par with David Bowie like releasing his final album 3 days before he died, right? And like that album came out and it's like this could not have been planned. Like that music video where he's on his deathbed and then he literally dies, it's like David Lynch like planting this one line of dialogue where it's like, "I'll see you in 25 years," and then 25 years later he releases this thing. It's like it's so perfect that you
What are the
literally
chances?
could
Yeah.
not
And even characters
plan it
are
that way.
dying. Characters are dying on the show for the return. They're literally going out. Like they were able to
Yeah.
cast a few people right before they passed. Like that's so crazy.
It's just
And
the
then,
stars of
Lynch
it's
talked
like
about it every time.
Things falling into
The
place.
stars align.
Yeah, things falling into place that you couldn't possibly plan, and it just has to all work out in ways that are so far outside of anyone's control that that's the reason why I finally caught up.
Yeah, it's fascinating, but yeah, season 3 is just one of the craziest and most impressive things I've ever seen on television.
I hate calling it season 3 now.
I know,
just don't
the return. It feels like an 18-part movie.
I'm so excited. And I'm going to watch every episode, and then I'm going to watch your breakdowns.
Do it.
Which I'm finally.
I want to do the breakdowns over. I want to do them over.
You want to do them over?
You want to do them over?
I want to do another round. I want to do
Go
another.
for it. Nothing's
okay, let's do it. I'll join for these.
We need videos. Just do it. I allow it. Just do it.
I'll join for these. We can do the Twin Peaks The Return rewatch discussion series featuring Mike Rougeau.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, dude, because it is Pepe Silva come 100%.
Pepe Silvia.
Totally Pepe Silvia for every breakdown for Twin Peaks. So just keep that in mind.
We're going to need a whiteboard. We're going to need a digital whiteboard for this.
Every week we thought, okay, maybe they're going to get back to how the show used to be. So we're all just waiting and saying, this is what this means and putting lines together. No, that's not the way we should have done it. So that's why I want to go back and do it again.
I get it.
Anyway, what are you watching, Chastity?
Hey, so yeah, I've wanted to watch a couple of things to just get my mind off of everything that's going on, just for a little bit of an escape from reading Twitter and Reddit and what have you. But I watched some more Miyazaki this weekend on HBO Max. I watched Porco Rosso, and I thought it was really good, and I'd never seen it before because it was from '92, so it was a little before I started watching Miyazaki movies. But it's so good. It's about this ex-fighter ace who, from World War I, turned bounty hunter, and he's an anthropomorphic pig. And so in the English dub, that's the Disney dub that's available on HBO Max, Porco's played by Michael Keaton, and I think that's really fantastic. I enjoy him playing this fighter pilot pig.
Jack Frost.
So
I'm sorry.
Good. I didn't even think of Jack Frost. He's just doing such a good job as this fighter pilot pig. You don't even think about Jack Frost.
I'm sorry.
And then, I know. I forgot about Jack Frost, but thanks for reminding me. Or don't.
We're not. Sorry.
Yeah, we're
I
not.
apologize.
But no, he's really good in this. And then his rival in the dub is played by Cary Elwes, and he's very fun and campy. But he also has this, there's this gang boss that's played by Brad Garrett that's also hilarious. So I like it a lot. It's really wholesome. It's heroic. It has a lot of heart. It's very funny. But it also has gorgeous animation, and particularly the flight sequences are really, really cool to watch. But yeah, it's just very under the radar in terms of Miyazaki movies. Everyone talks about Spirited Away and My Neighbor Totoro, but not a lot of people talk about Porco Rosso, and I feel like he should get more love.
I have not seen that
it's really good. Yeah, check it out for sure. I say add it to your list. Greg, did you watch Kiki's yet?
No, this weekend. Remember, this weekend with my significant other, we watched that double feature that I'm not going to have any more double features for a long time. So, but I think we can do Mizia. We can do this time around.
Yes.
I think we can get into everything Studio Ghibli.
Nice, yeah. I mean, they're just really good escapism right now, and just very wholesome. And speaking of things that are wholesome, I also watched Queer Eye Season 5, just 3 episodes this weekend, and it really was a good palate cleanser and mental break for me. It's more of the same, but also I like that these episodes...
Yeah,
they're in Philly. They're in Philly, and they're picking... The people that they've chosen this season, based on the first 3 that I've watched, are kind of heroes in their own right, and people that are working really hard to change their communities or help others as well. So I think it's really cool that they've picked these specific people to work with. So like their tagline, it's not just a makeover, they're changing people's lives, and they're helping with self-love and self-improvement. I think that's a really important thing to do right now. There's a couple of episodes that I wanted to highlight that you should definitely check out. Preaching Out Loud is the first one. It's about a gay pastor, and they help him with his self-confidence and his imposter syndrome so that he can lead more confidently. And Karamo gathers like 2 other LGBTQ clergy members to meet him. It made me teary-eyed. It was really good.
I watched that episode.
It's good, right? Yeah.
It's pretty good.
That one got me. It's so good. The 2 other ones that I really liked that I watched were Groomer Has It, about a mobile dog groomer, and the North Philadelphia Story, about a man who was formerly homeless but now works to promote children's literacy, and he finally got his own apartment. They help him reconnect with his childhood guardian that had to give him up when he was 11. So it's just very, very heartwarming stuff.
A lot of tears. A lot of tears are coming. All right, I'll get the Kleenex ready.
It's so good. It's really good stuff. And my partner had never seen Queer Eye before, and he really got into it as well.
Oh,
All right, now on to This Just In, and we've got a couple of stories this week. So the first one is that 90% of the movie theater market will be open by mid-July, according to One Hollywood Group. So that's the National Association of Theater Owners. They believe that they expect 90% of the global theater market to be open in time for Tenet's release on July 17th. So the CEO of Cinemark also went on to say during an earnings call that he'd been speaking with Warner Brothers about Tenet, and they remain optimistic about the movie coming to theaters on schedule in July. And then that also leads to Cinemark outlining their 4-phase plan to reopen U.S. movie theaters starting on June 19th, and they project all Cinemark theaters will be open by July 10th. I feel like this is coming up real fast. What do you guys think?
I think we need to hear from some bigger chains.
Yeah.
That leaves out a lot of theaters as far as concrete plans. And I mean, it's optimistic. It would be great. It would be great to usher in the return of going to movie theaters with that movie specifically, given everything we've seen about it and the history of Nolan movies in theaters and the just
usually event films
spectacle of it. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I think that would be cool. I think we're gonna feel weird going to theaters or being
Definitely.
in any public group for this
quite
weekend.
some time. Yeah.
Well, the past week or so's protests notwithstanding, which a lot of people have broken quarantine to go do that, which is great. But even that feels different than the protests of the past. So going to movie theaters is going to be weird, no matter what.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because you're down there in LA right now, so you have a better picture of this than we do from the Bay when it comes to even theater change of how to get to a theater. I can't imagine how this is going to go down, or I don't know what kind of conversations they're having with Warner Brothers with Tenet, because I'm trying to figure out here if this movie bombs, which it just might. What assurances are they giving them here in these conversations here? So go, don't worry about it. Just let's try to get people back in the theater, see if it works out. But I can't imagine we're so close to this release in July. This is tough because I can see the ads now for it saying, trying to rally the rallying cry to get people back to the theaters to go see this movie. But I don't know if you want to be the first out the gate like that, especially for a movie that costs so much. I'm assuming I can't imagine. Who knows? I'm not there with the budget for it, but I'm just saying if this movie bombs, I would assume that's a lot of money gone right then and there. So I'm assuming the Cinemark or these theaters are making that conversation right now, saying this is what will happen if this so and so happens, but who knows?
You have to imagine Warner WB would have a backup plan, right? If it bombs in theaters because of the pandemic,
just like a really early digital rental release.
Yeah, they'll just send it to digital. I'm just sitting here trying to imagine eating popcorn wearing a mask.
Yeah, I probably wouldn't.
Yeah,
I don't know if I could sit through like a 2.5 to 3 hour film with a mask on comfortably. So I feel like people would just be taking them off throughout.
Yeah, it's gonna be weird. So do we leave an empty seat in between every group in the theater?
Absolutely.
Yeah, and then what's gonna happen is someone complains and they have to go see a manager, say this person won't leave, put their mask on, this person don't. It's a complicated mess that I hope they figure out very soon.
And this is just one small part of it. Like movie theaters are just, it's entertainment. Like there's a lot of things that matter a whole lot more.
Right.
Yep.
Right. Yeah, people want things to do, but they're going to have to definitely enforce different things at the theaters, including 50% at least of the people that enter the theater at once. And the spacing, how is that going to be figured out? Snacks, how do you snack without a mask? Maybe you just maybe they don't allow snacking.
Well, if theaters aren't selling, if they're not selling concessions, like they're not making money anyway.
Exactly.
So it's like, what's the point?
That's a very good point.
Guys, we are moving closer and closer to streaming becoming a bigger deal when it comes to big budget movies. But it's just, I think we're going through the growing pains of this. But and also, again, for something like this, when it comes to the bigger picture, we are just, the little violins playing right now.
Right.
For sure.
It's an issue that I think they're going to try to figure out. Obviously, we just saw this a big battle unfold because of the movie Trolls 2. Think about that for a second. So
Trolls World Tour.
Yeah, come on.
Yeah.
I don't know. It just Tenet, that's one of those things. I just look at that movie in the trailer and how much money was spent. I can just see producers going, I don't know if we want to be first.
Yeah.
just yet, but
Yeah.
we'll see. We'll see. They may stick to their date, and they probably have plans, or like Mike said, already in advance for issues like this, and they'll have something ready to go to drop it digitally, maybe HBO Max. Who knows if something goes awry.
I think I'd sooner go back to a drive-in theater than to a regular movie theater.
Same.
Yeah.
Same.
And they just started opening those back up up here in the Bay Area. So I think, like, I just checked out what they had, but, they were showing all old stuff. But I would probably go once they have something that I want to watch. All right, on to the next story. We've got Marvel star Chris Evans is discussing if he will play Captain America again. I think it's pretty easy to guess what he said. So he said that because he went out on such a high note with the character, he's unlikely to play him again. So the quote was, "It was a great run. We went out on such a high note that it would be risky to revisit it, in my opinion." So he said this to the Graham Norton show. And he said, "It was such a good experience, and I think it's better left that way." I think he's absolutely right. I think it'd be super weird to bring him back. What do you guys think?
No.
I mean, I would just argue about it being a high note.
Yeah.
It's a note. I mean, I can't imagine he's going to come back to this unless the money's right. Now they can, pull a Brinks truck up to his house, and sure, he'll come back. He'll be like, "All right, cool, sure. What do you want me to do?" But I don't think that's happening anytime soon. And I really do think they are planning ahead for the future of what they're going to do for their real new phase here for the French, for everything Marvel. Again, Fantastic Four. I don't see where they're going to go with Captain America if they need to bring him back, unless they do another storyline where it's like, or something with Rhodey or something down the line where they have to go back in time again.
Please no. Please
They can
stop.
always go back in time again. They
Please
put that in the script. They literally did it for Endgame. They had it in the script so they could just go back to him in the future if they ever wanted to with a different Cap.
Picture 10, 15 years from now, the MCU, the payoffs are getting smaller and smaller.
Mm-hmm.
Chris Evans' career maybe petering out. It's time for the resurgence, okay? But he's getting a little bit older.
Mm-hmm. Oh God!
Is there a version of Captain America?
No, just fine.
Somewhere in the 1970s, some kind of, he goes back in time.
Yeah.
Yep.
Hangs out with Peggy, ruins her whole life, changes the timeline. Doesn't matter. No one cares. Okay, except for me and our colleague Meg Downey.
Yep. Kevin Feige, that's money. He's like, no, I don't care.
We will be grinding this axe for the rest of our lives. My point is, there's decades of alternate American history where Captain America is hanging out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Never say never.
If he ages starting in the 40s, post World War II when he comes back, his age, they could pick an era where his age would match Chris Evans' age in a decade or so,
and pop him right out, and then
exactly. We have the adventures. We have the adventures of middle-aged Captain America as a period piece. That's all I'm saying.
I know we're being cynical, but this is what's going to happen.
I'm not. I'm being 100% serious.
Yeah.
They're gonna do it.
I think it's a good idea. I think it would be cool.
I think it would happen. Yeah, I think
it's gonna happen.
They're gonna back that truck up and they're like, "Hey, you're not doing anything. Here's the money."
Fast and the
Let's do it.
Furious. How they reboot.
Of course he's done right now.
Come to Disney Plus.
He went out on a high note for his bank account, if not for the story of Captain America. And okay, now I'm being cynical.
We gotta see. It's just gonna happen like Fast and the Furious franchise. I don't remember which one it was, where everyone started coming back. Whenever that happened, that's just what's gonna happen with the MCU at some point.
Somewhere in the middle, they're like, "Who cares? They died. We'll bring it. It doesn't matter."
The first time you thought someone was dead and they came back.
These are movies based on comic books.
Yeah,
like why?
Exactly.
Why not?
It's the whole thing about like, how can you kill a vampire? However you want. It's your own script. Just write whatever you want for how a vampire does. It's the same thing. It doesn't matter. Captain America, go back in time, grab him, and then you start your next battle with him in a new timeline. Doesn't matter.
Great.
He's
whatever. Coming back. We predicted it. He's coming back.
Printing money. We're printing money here, people.
All right, on to the next segment, which is You Should Be Watching. And this week we're talking about the most rewatchable MCU movies. So that was a good segue from the news to this. We'll also be talking about the least rewatchable MCU movies after that. But first, let's go to our favorites and basically the ones that we can always come back to again and again. There are many MCU movies, but which ones do you usually put on first? So I like to revisit Thor Ragnarok. I think that's on all of your lists.
Yep.
If I'm correct. Yeah.
Well, I looked at the list that you and Greg had put together and realized that all three of us were just going to list like the same
thing.
Three movies, which is Thor Ragnarok, Guardians, and Infinity War. So I deleted those. I wrote those and then looked at yours and then deleted them and came up with some other ones.
Good. That's good. Yeah, we want to list as many as we can. But yes, I think we're all in agreement that Thor Ragnarok and Guardians 1 are on all three of our lists, right? I don't know if Infinity War is on Greg's list. Is it?
Infinity War? No. Actually, no. No, not Endgame or Infinity War. Infinity War is a much better film. I don't know if I would go back to it all the time.
So the two that we all have in common and we can agree and put on this list of definitely rewatch these are Thor Ragnarok and Guardians 1.
Yep,
100%.
So
they're the two funniest,
let's just dip into why. Yeah, they are the two funniest. I feel like, that's what they both have in common. Is that
they have their own voice, too. They have their own voice, distinct voice from their creator.
Yeah, they're very unique. Yeah, exactly. And you can tell who directed these movies, and they put so much of themselves into it, and I think that really lends to it, but without like completely taking it over, right? It's not a case of that. It's more like they play to the strengths of the cast, and it's just really funny. I love Thor Ragnarok so much. I love Korg, and I love Guardians 1 a lot. I think that they all just have a really good rapport together, and bringing that team together for the first time is just so enjoyable to watch.
I like Thor Ragnarok more now than I did at the time. At the time, I thought some of the CGI was kind of wonky, and I love Kate Blanchett, but I thought she was that, her character was just not
out of character.
Like she was just kind of two-dimensional. She was just kind of a boring villain to me, as much fun as she had chewing all the scenery. But the things about that movie that I liked when it came out have just aged really well, I think, especially compared with some of some other funny MCU movies, which I'm sure we'll talk about. As far as Guardians, it's hands down my favorite MCU movie, the one that I can and have just watched over and over. I think I saw the sequel once, so I don't care about that at all. Guardians 1 I've seen dozens of times and will continue to rewatch forever. To me, it's like head and shoulders above every other MCU movie as far as like heart, mood, writing, humor, the characters that I love. Everything about it is just...
How could we have predicted this? Of all movies that were coming down the line I remember when they greenlit it. When they greenlit this, I was like, a raccoon, a talking raccoon, and a tree.
A tree.
Right, and
when that got announced, like I'm not as familiar with the comics as a lot of people, and I was like, this is the dumbest idea I've ever...
They're like, wow, they're really scraping the bottom of the barrel.
This is
Disney. This is all Disney. They just wanted to sell toys. Screw this brand. And then the movie comes out, and you're like, all right, well, I'm just gonna shut up and just take it and see what's going on here with James Gunn. Because it was James Gunn too that really took me and go, okay, now I see where they're going with this. But still, I did not see this coming at all.
Sometimes I love being wrong as much as I love being right.
Yeah, all good.
Yeah, I loved being pleasantly surprised and walking out of that movie and being like, wow, I think that's my new favorite Marvel film. And to this day, it's top tier.
Right from
I bounce back.
The title, the title credits, right from the opening titles, I thought, oh, this is going to be my favorite movie. Just from there, the jump.
Yes.
Can I bring up Iron Man 1? The original?
Yeah, absolutely. Go for it.
Yeah, that holds up.
I love Iron Man 1.
Besides Guardians 1, Iron Man 1 is the one that I've rewatched the most because I think there's something refreshing about it in retrospect. The fact that it's not dependent yet on the full weight of the, epic journey that was to come and all of the other things coming together and everything combining. There's something pure about the first Iron Man movie. It was so surprising at the time. Iron Man was not like an A-list character, really.
No.
People didn't know. I didn't know much about it going into that movie, and it was just like, oh, like this is that was good, you know? It's just
this is around Nolan's time. Nolan had the Batman franchise at the moment.
Yeah.
So when Iron Man came out, we're like, all right, whatever.
Jeff Bridges up in there.
Yeah, and in development, it was like Robert Downey Jr. was a risk at the time. They're just like, oh, are you sure? And like they wanted Tom Cruise, right? So it all came together.
Oh, that would have been awful.
You're absolutely right.
Oh God,
I know.
I remember being in the boards for like coming soon. We wanted the actor from The Mummy, one of the actors from The Mummy to play the character of Tony Stark. It's a long road how we got to Robert Downey Jr. and still look at us, look where we're here now.
That movie just stands on its own, and it established a lot of things that mattered later. But like in the moment, it's a really just good movie it's like if I'm rewatching Avengers, okay, now I gotta go rewatch 5 other things, but I can just put Iron Man on and legitimately I just enjoy watching that movie.
Yeah, also it's just a staple of an MCU rewatch. It's great to watch it come full circle from that film. What else is on your list, Mike?
I had Black Panther on there as well. That was one of the...
So you and Greg both have that on your lists? Mm-hmm.
Yep.
For me, that was
because you don't need to jump into everything else for that one either. For the most part, you don't need to.
It also stands alone pretty well. That one was so exciting when it came out. So that's recent enough that I was working here. We were all working together. And when that movie came out, it was just like, I remember being in the theater still the first time I saw it. And it was just electricity, like the excitement around that movie. And so for me, part of rewatching that movie is just reliving that feeling of watching it for the first time and feeling like it was a moment of cultural significance. Like obviously it took too long for them to make this movie, starring a black superhero, but when it finally happened, like it felt so momentous. And like I can nitpick things about that movie that I don't like, but overall it feels like this cultural moment that was so like positive and warm that I just love revisiting it.
I remember before it broke off, I remember when we had a few cons prior to it with Black Panther. Everyone was wondering whether it was going to take off. People were going to really be into Black Panther. I remember seeing a huge crowd of people waiting for Black Panther stuff to come out, and it was mostly, I noticed too, it was all at the time it was white people, and I thought, oh man, this movie's actually going to take off because I could see everyone so excited. I had no idea because I thought I knew about Black Panther. I was waiting on Black Panther. I was like, what about? I was like, screw Ant-Man. Where's Black Panther? And it didn't happen. And so when it finally did in the trailer, at this point, I'm just like tired. I was like, I wonder what this is going to be. What are they trying to do here with this franchise? And I just remember seeing the zeitgeist and just the hype for it start to kick in. And it really wasn't. I just noticed it was like, a lot of white people. I was like, oh, wait, this is okay. So this might actually like take off. And sure enough, it did. Box office, everything. I can't wait I have no idea what they're going to do for a sequel. With that said, good luck. There's a lot they can go with. I'm now excited for it. There's a lot they can do here, but I don't know what is going to make it into a Disney Marvel film. So that's what I'm curious with. I want to see what Coogler can do with the next one because this is the big test.
Greg, I want to point out that you said screw Ant-Man, but you do have Ant-Man.
Yeah, but he's on your list.
He's on my list. Yes, and here's why.
Go ahead, tell us.
2 words.
Tell us why Ant-Man is...
2 words. Paul Rudd. That's it. His existence is the reason. And let me tell you, no one would care about Ant-Man at all, if it wasn't Paul Rudd. If they had
delightful.
Any other actor. Yes. It's Paul. Listen, as long as he's around, sure, I'll be there. Because from the beginning, I thought Ant-Man, the only thing I want to hear from Ant-Man is the beginning of an Avengers film where everyone's coming out of, like, it just opens up at a funeral for Ant-Man, or Tony Stark's making a joke. Oh, I guess we got to go find the guy who killed him. Sorry. And then they just move on to their mission. But now that Paul Rudd's in the role, yes, of course, I'm going to be there for each movie. And they hold up. They're just comedies with Paul Rudd, and he gets to play Ant-Man. That's all this is. They figured out their avenue. They know what they're doing here with this franchise. And I don't think we're going to see any other Ant-Man movies if Paul Rudd doesn't want to come back in the future.
So, Greg, you wrote Ant-Man movies. Do you like Ant-Man and the Wasp as much as the original, or are those on par?
Ant-Man 2 holds up for me a little bit more because of just Walter Goggins. I'm sorry. His character, he's just hamming it up for the screen. Same thing when it comes to, Kate Blanchett in Thor Ragnarok. They know what's going on. They know what they want, and they know what the director wants, and they just go with that. So I did not like the villain in Ant-Man, the first Ant-Man movie, compared to what we
Very
got in the second one.
yeah.
Very much so.
I actually am blanking. I don't even remember who it was.
In
Yellow Jacket.
Yellow Jacket. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Who cares?
It's Paul Rudd. Paul Rudd, and Paul Rudd's in it.
There you go. Yeah, I don't think the Ant-Man movies are super rewatchable, but I do love Paul Rudd, so I will agree with you there. Mike, what else do you have on your list for rewatchable films?
I'll bring up two more real quick. Winter Soldier.
Yes.
Because it's
100%.
just
because it's one of the best.
I rewatched it recently. We're doing like family rewatches, and we literally started with Iron Man many weeks ago, and we're working our way through, and we got to Winter Soldier recently, and that movie just holds up in almost every way. So it's easy to rewatch. And then Spider-Man: Homecoming, because it's just delightful.
It is.
That movie's adorable. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I can't get over it.
Yeah.
It's just good.
Yeah.
It is. And Tom Holland is just a perfect Peter Parker. Like,
Yeah.
I grew up with Tobey. I know, I acknowledge this, and I respect Tobey, but I think Tom Holland's my favorite.
For easily.
Because he's
easily
actually,
the best.
a teenager.
Right, because he doesn't
playing
look
the
like
role.
He feels like an
29-year-old
teenager
man
in this
playing
film.
a teenager.
Yeah.
It's-
That's very true.
Yeah, Winter Soldier is like the best Tom Clancy movie that never happened. If that makes any sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, it feels like
Soldier
a
is
it feels like a
fantastic.
Bourne movie.
Yeah. It's better
But-
than the Bourne movies.
I
think
agree.
I think it gets a little bit silly when I forget the guy's name, but like that German scientist is like
Zemo?
He's like a retro AI thingy. That doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
Whatever,
that's
though.
right.
Yeah.
It's okay.
Whatever. Hi, it's
like
me,
they have to-
Mr.
it's a
Mr.
comic
Nitpick.
book movie now. That's the part there. Okay, here's the comic book stuff we got to add to this movie. We got to make sure to put that in there, or our rating's gonna change.
Do you remember thinking that they killed Nick Fury the first time you
Yeah.
saw that? Like,
Yeah, I thought he died.
oh, I
I
guess
did
they just
too.
killed. I mean, they literally showed him flatline, and all the doctors. Like, I still have questions about that. Like, were all the doctors actors, or
Possibly. They're all in on it.
doesn't matter?
It doesn't matter. Comics.
Uh-huh.
It's fine. It's totally fine. All right. So that's our list of most rewatchable. Now we're going to switch over to least rewatchable on the other side of the coin. So these are ones that you just never choose to rewatch. They don't have to necessarily be ones that are the worst, but they might be. I personally have never seen The Incredible Hulk, and I'm here to admit that.
It's not good.
But I just don't feel like watching it.
You know
I
that.
just don't feel like I have to, right? I feel like it's like outside of that entire storyline now. Like, I feel like it's not really part of it. There's nothing from that movie that you need to know in order to move forward.
Not
right?
really. No.
Everything you need to know about the Hulk, you can learn from the back of the box, like the DVD case. To understand his role, in future MCU movies. And that movie's just it's not terrible by the standards of like, early aughts superhero movies, but it doesn't hold a candle to anything that came afterward.
In the MCU,
Yeah.
right? Yeah, that's what I assume. So I just feel like no need to actually watch it, but I probably should at some point, just as a completionist, to like essentially
for history. Yeah, for history, you should watch it, because that was a film where, again, Ed Norton.
It existed.
Chastity, I'm gonna let you off the hook. Chastity, you don't need
I don't have to?
You're good.
Okay, sweet. All right.
I absolve you
know
of
what?
this responsibility.
Thank you.
Let
'cause
it
there's
go.
so many other things that I want to watch.
Yeah,
I'm
man.
telling you
I
the
feel like I
opposite.
don't
No,
need to
go
watch
watch it. You need to. For the history.
Do your homework.
Do your homework. Watch the damn movie.
Don't
Just
listen
get it
to
out of the
Greg.
way. Listen to me. Ed Norton tried to write his own MCU franchise, basically, and they booted him out. They told him that's enough. They hired Ruffalo because of this, and that's where I'm sure if Ed Norton knew this is what the MCU was going to be, he probably would have shook hands and said, "Okay, that's fine. Thank you very much for your time. I will head on out." But he didn't know that at the time period, so he thought he can just
this is a how many year investment?
Yep, he didn't know that.
Yeah, true enough. But along those lines, ones that I never rewatched, Thor: The Dark World is on my list. Age of Ultron.
I rewatched Thor: The Dark World recently.
Wow.
Because we're just doing them all
What'd
in
you
order.
think?
Why?
Yeah.
Why?
It has moments. Like, it's not terrible. It's just they hadn't figured out what to do with Thor yet. Thor in those movies is such a wet blanket.
The tone's weird. Yeah, the tone is super weird.
It's not funny. It's super serious. And apologies about the dogs, by the way. Hopefully that's not coming through.
We don't mind.
It's inevitable in my house. They hadn't figured out the tone yet, and that movie has way too much action. Like, it's just like endless fights with the
but not in a good way.
elves. Yeah, and it's just super boring action. Like, there's just not a lot going on there.
And I don't blame Natalie Portman for like finishing that and be like, well, I'm done here.
Yeah, for sure.
Until like she was offered a way more interesting thing to do for the upcoming Love and Thunder.
Fingers crossed.
Yeah.
Hope it happens.
Yeah, hopefully that happens. Hope it happens. Yeah. Mike, what's on your list of not watchable or least rewatchable?
You mentioned Age of Ultron, and like the flaws of that movie just get more and more glaring over time. And it's so clear that they spent way too much time in that movie trying to set up things that wouldn't pay off for like years. Like they introduced Wakanda in that movie for some reason, and it's like, I love Black Panther, but like that didn't need to get brought up that early. Like Andy Serkis's character is in there, and there's just like example after example of things that like. My favorite subplot from that movie is when Thor goes and gets Professor Skarsgård, and then they go to a cave and he just like takes a bath while the professor just watches.
That's so random.
And it's like you can you can hear them in a boardroom going like, okay, we need to like introduce the Infinity Stones in an explicit narrative way that people will understand. Okay, well, let's start throwing out ideas, right? Like, we could have a character from the cosmic side come over and explain it. We could have a Collector cameo. We could have the Guardians get introduced. We could have, any number of things. Actually, we could have Thor hop in a jacuzzi. We'll get Hemsworth without a shirt on. He'll have a vision, and then he'll tell everyone about it. Easy peasy. And then we can like shoot it like on a lot somewhere in the off season. And like, it's so clumsy and stupid, and I hate it. And I hate rewatching that movie.
Yeah, I don't like rewatching that movie either. I also added to my list Doctor Strange. I think it's a one and done for me. I don't think it's bad. I just don't think it's rewatchable.
It's trippy.
That's all.
I mean, if you guys have if 420 already passed, so I don't want to bring that up, but
Greg,
know where I'm going.
We
with
live
this.
in California. Weed is legal. You can just say
it's a trippy movie. Just wait on Adam Warlock, which will be it's going to dwarf everything you've ever seen when it comes to. I know they're going to. I can't wait for Sam Raimi's take on Doctor Strange that's coming.
Yeah,
if
Multiverse of Madness.
Like, that's going to be crazy. I can't wait for that.
Yeah.
I like Doctor Strange. It has some cool visuals, but like, I agree with you in the sense that I don't think I've rewatched it since it came out. It's enjoyable.
Yeah. Exactly. It's just like, yeah, okay, that was fine. I just don't need to watch it again.
What about Endgame?
Yeah.
I can watch Endgame.
You're right.
I can watch
I could watch that. I could watch that, but like it's not my first choice. But there's a lot of there are pieces that I don't like about it, but there are pieces that I really love about it. So it's really half and half for me. The highs are high, the lows are low. So I don't usually choose to rewatch that, but I'm down to when someone hasn't. Like my partner only watched it once, and I'm like, sure, yeah, I'll watch it with you.
I find the time travel logic or the lack
gets
of
worse.
Time travel logic,
time heist, yeah,
way too annoying. As like a sci-fi fan, first and foremost, above all else, they really botched that aspect of it. And it gets a lot of character and emotional beats right, but the time travel just doesn't follow its own rules, and I find it too annoying. It's my nitpicky brain again. But I just find it too irritating to rewatch because of that.
Gotcha. Greg, what's on your list?
Oh, for not to go back to? Well, we talked about Iron Man, but Iron Man 3. Sorry, Shane Black. I love Shane Black, but Iron Man 3, they tried. They really, really tried. But I love the fact that how people got upset at the Mandarin stuff.
The Mandarin stuff was weird.
It was weird, but at the same time, too, using, now looking back at it, doing the whole, again, this feels like an episode of 24, the terrorist time, the whole terrorist aspect of the film. It just doesn't hold up at all today.
Yeah,
so that's one of the things. It's rough to watch that kind of stuff. Those scenes, at least with the Mandarin. Even now, going back, I'm sure Disney, they're like, wow, we should have just left this out entire. We just haven't used that character at all. I don't know why they did it. Looking back at it, now they're trying to fix it, rectify it with oh god, it's not. It's oh god, who Shaolin? What's the franchise they're coming out with right now, or they were?
Shang-Chi?
Was it? Wait, yes, and they're going to bring him back there as a new character. Sure, go for it. But I think Iron Man 3 really, there's not much there to go back to, honestly. There's some cool one-liners from Tony, but that's it. That's all you get.
To play devil's advocate, we had some people on staff who were very excited about the cameo from that random kid in Endgame.
I didn't even make that connection because I completely forgot.
I know. Well, we had
pretty much.
People liked it.
Little,
people really happy or hyped about that for some
reason. There was a little bit of an argument. There was a little bit of an argument because we put in a headline that there was an Iron Man 3 Easter egg in Endgame, and some people got mad that was a spoiler, and I specifically said, who cares about Iron Man 3? And a couple of people popped up and said, we do. And so
all apologies to those people.
It just goes to for sure, it just goes to show that any of these movies is somebody's favorite.
I don't even know that character's name. I don't know that kid's name.
Oh no, yeah, to be clear, Iron Man 3 sucks in my opinion, and I could not tell you anything about it if I hadn't just rewatched it like 3 weeks ago. But each their own.
His headquarters blows up. That's the big
does.
thing. It blows up. Pepper Potts gets a suit.
The suits start exploding at the end.
It's 100% his fault too. He's like, he literally goes on TV and goes, "Come at me, bro," and it's like,
so they do. And then the movie
with missiles.
Pretty much.
Not great.
Anything else on either of your lists?
No, this is now thinking of Iron Man 3 and that horrible storyline of the villains. I just think they need to bring back Norman Osborn so badly. They really need to bring him back. Just have him fight Tony or whatever, or the Avengers, and call it a day. I'm tired of all these Thanos, and because we're gonna get Galactus next. Let's just please just do Norman Osborn. Just call it a day.
I love how you're rallying for Norman Osborn every single week now.
It's a wise choice. I'm telling you.
I'll sign the petition. I agree to sign the petition for Norman Osborn.
I support you, Greg. Whatever you say.
I support your support.
You sure about that? Osborn. Whatever I say? Okay.
I may regret that.
Because we're going to come back around for that Justice League Snyder cut. We're all going to be on call for that one when that finally happens.
God.
So
Ryan have a nice little spoiler chat for that.
Ryan will never let me live that down.
Justice League is good. It's such a relief to say that. It feels good for me. It's good for you.
Justice League is good. Yes.
It's fine.
Right, so Mike, what have you worked on recently that you want people to check out?
Well, in the absence of new releases, really, in all sectors of the entertainment industry, my team and I lead the editorial team on the entertainment side at GameSpot, and we've sort of turned to classics. We've revisited a lot of older movies recently, everything from The Dark Knight to the Warcraft movie. Things that came out years ago that we still feel nostalgia for, we have a lot of fondness for, or whatever, and we've kind of just been digging through a lot of those old favorites with a fine-tooth comb and giving them the Easter egg gallery treatment. So, if you've been rewatching any classics recently, head to GameSpot.com and check out some of our galleries. And if you have any suggestions, you can always hit us up.
All right, Greg, how about you? What are you working on that you want to plug?
Well, I think you already know what I'm working on, everybody. American Horror Story. We're doing a hotel right now at this very moment. And I'll also be working actually outside of this. I'll be doing a blaxploitation video on the history of blaxploitation. So I can't wait to get started on that too. But for now, a lot of AHS. It's still on the docket at the moment for us on GameSpot Universe, at least on YouTube.
For sure, yeah. And just another mention that Play for All is going on, so check out GameSpot.com or YouTube.com/GameSpot for all of our charity live streams, which are going on Monday through Friday at 12 p.m. Pacific and 3 p.m. Eastern. So please check those out and donate if you can. Donation links are in the description below. If you have any comments or questions or suggestions for this show, please email us at ysbw@gamespot.com. That's ysbw@gamespot.com. If you're watching, please, you can listen on Spotify, Google Play, Apple Podcasts, and Stitcher. Or if you are listening already, you can watch this podcast at youtube.com/GameSpotUniverse. And you can follow us on Twitter. I'm at Chastity_V. And Mike?
I'm at Rogue Cheddar.
And Greg.
I'm at Greg Spot Thomas.
Thanks for checking us out, and we'll see you next time. Take care.
Bye-bye.